everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Emily, and my colleague Daniel is also on the call. And we
Hello.
work for TypingClub. We're very excited to have you here. Daniel is going to send in the chat some helpful information. First, he's going to send a link to our help center and the support team email address in case you need to reach out in the future. He'll also include our personal Ed Club email addresses as well, in case you would like to reach out to us directly. We're always happy to support in any way that we can. So today we're going to kind of just take you straight into the teacher portal so you can see what that looks like, what resources are available to you there, courses and progress monitoring, just how to perform some of these basic actions. And then Daniel is going to take over from there, and he'll log into the student portal so you can see what that will look like for the kids and also get a feel for the different courses and options that are available. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so here we have the main teacher dashboard. This is what you will see when you first sign into TypingClub. This is actually an admin portal that you're seeing right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a regular instructor so that you can get a better feel for that as well. Depending on the permissions that you have, you'll see different things. So in my admin portal here, I'm able to see the activity for the entire account. I can see a live activity feed from the students in different schools. But if I log into a teacher's account, I will only see the students in the classes that are assigned to me and schools that I have access to. So again, we've got this live activity feed. We've got a summary of the activity on the account this week and last. I can see my classes that have been active. And then I have this menu on the left-hand side of the page here. If I click on classes, again, I'm seeing the classes that I am an instructor on. And if there are different schools that I have access to, those will appear here as well. If I click on one of my classes, I see a basic overview of the number of students in the class and instructors, the school, the current settings, the overall performance for this class, any record history that's been updated. We have a class activity punch card here that just gives you a basic idea of the dates and times of day that this class is most active, days of the week and times of day. If I click on students, I see the students who are in the class. One thing that I can do here is I can print a parent letter if I want the students, grown-ups at home, to be able to access TypingClub. You would input here any information that's appropriate for how your students would sign in. Your account is synced with ClassLink, so you would want to tweak this to show that. And if I will just show you what that looks like. So you'll see you've got the unique information for each student. If I go to instructors, this is again where I see the teachers for the class. And then assignments is an area that's pretty important. This is where you'll see the courses that are assigned to the students in this particular class. If you wanted to assign additional courses, you can click here and do that. Your district has a subscription for TypingClub. So if you filter the subject for any of our typing courses, that is included. And Daniel will go into more detail about these when we look at the teacher portal. You'll also notice that for our different classes, we have certain options available. If I want to, I can set a course prerequisite. Maybe I don't want students to be able to open a certain course until they've completed a different one. I can adjust the difficulty level for the students in this class by either increasing or decreasing their speed for a certain interval. So an important thing to note here is that if I type 10 words per minute here, that's not going to make the requirement for every level 10 words per minute. What that's going to do is it's going to take the default lesson requirement and increase it by 10 words per minute. However, if I decide I want to set a minimum required accuracy of 95% for my students, that would be a consistent accuracy requirement throughout all of their lessons in this course. I can also decide if I want my students to just be able to go at their own pace and access the lessons as they complete them, or if I want them to be limited to a certain range of lessons. And if the students are working on Typing Jungle or one of our grade level typing courses for third grade and above, you can also enable a course placement test. This is something that would be really good for students who have already had some practice with TypingClub. They've got that finger positioning down really solid, because then they can test out of the introductory lessons that focus on that and move into the content lessons.
Emily, it looks like we have someone with their hand up. Are you available to take a question?
Yeah, absolutely. For now, if we want to go ahead and send questions in the chat, Daniel can start answering any of those. And then I'm just trying to make sure I leave him time to get to the student portal. So I'm
Sounds
going a
good.
little fast. But before we transition into that, any questions or anything that we need to see again in the teacher portal, I'll absolutely be happy to do that. Thank you. Okay, so then in the class reports, you have access to a wide variety of information about these students and how they are practicing and what they've been working on. You have an activity log where you can see all of the lesson attempts for the students in this class. There are a few different places where you can watch a lesson playback if you want to see specifically what they were typing, where their mistakes occurred. You can also hover over this little eye next to the stars that they earned for the levels that are not completion based. And then you can see what the requirement was compared to their result. Also, most of our reports can be exported as CSV files, so that can be really helpful for grading. The next report we have is an activity summary report. So here you would select a subject, you would select a date range, and you would be able to see some overall information for the class, as well as the student-specific stats as well. Again, this can be exported as a CSV file. We also have a daily, weekly time report available if you just want to be able to see which students have met the goals that you have set for their class over a certain time period. Here we have a course progress graph, which is a really nice visual to have, just to be able to see how far the students have gotten in the courses, as well as how well they have scored on those lessons. This particular report you would be able to generate as a PDF because it is more visual. Then in the class stats, you have access to all kinds of information about how this class is doing compared to the grade level and the whole account. You can see stats for their practice time, their number of activities, and the number of students. Again, we have that punch card visual for days of the week and times of day. You've also got a practice calendar, which appears in a few different places on the account, where you can see which days students have been the most active. After that, we have the typing stats, which is going to look a little bit similar, but here you can see their words per minute. You can see their accuracy, keyboard coverage, and speed. If I had enough data points, this would appear as a little line graph. And then here we have a scoreboard. This is something that would only be visible to students if the account admins and the teachers have decided that they would like students to be able to see this. But as a teacher, you can see a scoreboard for each course. And then here we have a live activity view. So this would be anything that is happening now. You would be able to see this update in real time and again, see how the students are doing and watch a playback. Another super important thing to know about the classes tab is that for each class, there are certain settings that you're going to be able to adjust. For My Week Starts On, this would be for the time goals and the reports. You can set a minimum number of stars required to pass a lesson. By default, 1 star is the requirement because that means that students met our requirements to be able to pass the lesson. However, if you would like for them to have to earn more, that is an option. You can set a daily practice time goal and a weekly practice time goal here, and that's what that daily, weekly time report would look for. Here's where you would be able to decide about the scoreboard visibility. You can decide, yes, the students in this class can view each other's scores. No, they can't see anybody's scores. Or if you want to set it up as a leaderboard, where students would only be able to see the top however many scores. Here, you could make it so that students can't use backspace when they're completing their lessons. We generally don't recommend doing that because when students are typing in real life, they're going to be able to use backspace, but there are definitely certain situations where that can come in handy. Here is where you would be able to allow students to skip ahead instead of going through every single level in order as they pass the levels. Again, not something we generally recommend doing, except, maybe you have a new student, you want them to be able to skip ahead to a certain part. But for demo purposes, we definitely like to have this so that we can look at all of the different courses and lesson types with you. Here is a section that's going to make a lot more sense when Daniel goes through the student portal. There are a bunch of different things that students can customize on their end if you want them to. If you decide, no, I don't like this, this is distracting, this is where you can lock those options so that students would not be able to change it on their end. But otherwise, those can be really fun customizations. I'm going to move into the Students tab here. You will not need to worry about a lot of these actions in the Classes and Students tab because you are auto-rostered with ClassLink. That's going to take care of a lot of these things for you. If I click on a specific student, again, I have this overview where I can see overall how they've been doing. I can print a little report card for the student for the past couple of weeks. I can also scroll down and see any changes that have been made. I can see the badges that the student has earned so far, and I can award them some. Again, Daniel will show you this in the student portal, so it will make a lot more sense then. I have a practice calendar for this particular student down here. If I click on classes, I would be able to see the classes that this student is enrolled in. if I click on progress, this is where I'm going to be able to see the courses that they've been working on and how they've been doing overall. The most important thing probably to take away from this particular section would be that you can also adjust the difficulty for a specific student. So it would be the same thing where you could increase or decrease the default speed by a certain interval, or you could set a minimum required accuracy. Maybe the student needs more or less of a challenge than the others in the class. I can also see the student's activity log for lesson attempts, test attempts, and placement tests if I've allowed them to do that. And I can export these as CSV files. I can watch playbacks. I can hover over the eye and see how they did compared to the requirements. Then we do also have some student-specific reports here. We have that practice time overview where we've got the practice calendar and the punch card again for this particular kid. Then this typing performance analysis is where we get really, really detailed. And one thing that we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about is that the kids can also see this on their end. So it can be kind of fun for them to look and track their progress over time. They can set goals. They can really see specifically the keys that they're strongest with, what they're typing, when they should be typing those keys. They can see for the fingers I'm supposed to be using for certain keys, how fast and how accurate I am. I can look at my characters that are fastest, slowest, most accurate, and least accurate. I can also look at my own progress. Well, this would be for the teacher, pardon me. I can look at my own practice time. You can look at that for a specific student compared to the class and the rest of the account, as well as their typing speed and their keyboard coverage, as well as their lesson plan completion rate. And if I had more data, these would be populated, but there are key performance indicators as well that would show up for the class and the student. And again, if there was enough data, I would be able to get a class placement for coverage, speed, and then an overall grade for class placement. The one other thing I want to quickly show you in the Students tab here is if you edit student, you will not need to actually change any of their information because of ClassLink. However, if you scroll down to accessibility, there are a whole bunch of different accessibility settings that you can choose to enable for students that will either enable or disable certain features automatically for them. And then there are a lot of other great features here. I don't want to take up too much of Daniel's time, but down here you can create your own typing tests. There are templates you can use, or you can create your own. You can decide who should pass with which requirements. You can decide who it's assigned to. If you want to issue a certificate, lots of customizable options here. And if students do take the typing test, you would be able to see their results here afterwards with a great overview. You can export their attempts as well. And here is where you could print a certificate for students who pass. All right, that was a lot really quickly. There are other things in here as well where you can explore the different courses. You can look at a ton of different data points for the analytics for a certain time period. If I just keep scrolling right, I'm going to see so much information here. We also have a support tab where you can create a ticket. You can contact one of your administrators, or you can also visit our help center that has tons and tons of helpful resources. You can also search our help topics right up here from this search bar. So maybe I want to adjust the difficulty. I would be able to search that here, and then visit the Help Center. Okay, so that is pretty much all I wanted to cover quickly in the teacher portal. Do you all have questions in here, Daniel, that we should look at before you sign in as a student?
Yeah, most of the questions have been answered. There's one good question right now. I'll just read off what was sent in the chat. So if I'm doing the turkey trot and I'm trying to measure the time report for student advisory, but the students are joining through another class, then would those hours not be logged? Mentioning that if there's like the option to delete other classes so students cannot see them.
So that would be a question having to do with the way that the students are rostered and the data is coming over in ClassLink. Unfortunately, that's not something that we would necessarily have control over on our end. That would maybe be a good question for an administrator or a school administrator. It's possible that they might have access to certain data points. I can definitely look at some specific examples later. Definitely feel free to shoot us an email with some specific examples, and we can look at how best to approach that.
Yeah, I think it's because the way our school's roster is always the same name. So, it's homeroom 3, science and social studies 3. So there's several of those listed for all the instructors. And those directions that you posted, we also have posted on our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page. So hopefully they can go through and kind of clean up. We'll also add it to our tech tips at the end of the year so people remember to do that. And then the turkey trot question, I think we answered. And just for your information, so we put out an idea for schools to measure time as a point for seeing which class kind of uses TypingClub the most.
Awesome.
And so we have been able to make some of our e-coaches and media specialists as admin, school admin, and they're kind of asking what's the best way to see all the classes like time data in one spot.
Yeah, so the analytics tab is probably going to be a really great place for that. You've got classes and students here. If you've got admin permissions, you'll see also account and schools. But if you select a certain time period here and a certain subject area, you can look at that data for total time, as well as information about speed, accuracy, things like that.
Does that answer for you guys?
So
If
can
not,
I ask
let us
a
know.
question that kind of bounces off of that? Because I was like, I'm looking at the analytics and I'm trying to look at the reports. And I know for a fact that yesterday we had an entire station that was TypingClub, and I was walking around and monitoring and watching all of my students. And I'm looking on the analytics report, and it shows that only 3 of my students were on TypingClub when in fact I know that all of the class was on it. So how quickly does that data come in? Because I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong. Like, did they click on maybe last year's link instead of mine? Or like, where am I going wrong that my kids aren't being recorded?
So the first thing to do would be to make sure that they are signing in through ClassLink.
They are.
Okay, perfect. So then, yeah, it could have to do with if they are seeing multiple class options on their screen and clicking on different classes, that could impact what you're seeing.
Okay.
If you go into students and you wanted to be able to see specifically the students and what they did, that might also be helpful.
Yeah, it's showing that they have 0 minutes when I know that they did it for a station. Because like I said, I was walking around monitoring because this is the first week we've really done a lot with TypingClub. And we
Right.
did it as a full class because we're working on typing in 3rd grade and getting their responses. So, okay. I'm going to have to play around with it some more, I think.
Yeah, so it is a big account, so it can take some time, but it shouldn't be taking full days for that to upgrade or update. So
Okay.
this might be a situation where if you send us an email to the support email address or reach out to Daniel or I with some specific examples of students whose information should be showing, then we can look into this specific case a little more
Thank
carefully.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Daniel, do we have anything else?
I do not think so. I think we've gone through all the questions.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting so Daniel can take over here, and he can sign in as a student and give you a better idea of what the student experience looks like and what the different typing courses are that are available.
All right. You're able to see my screen, right, Emily?
Yes, and everyone, if you want to keep sending questions in the chat, I will be keeping an eye on that.
All right. So when you are in as an administrator, if you go to students, you can log in as any one of your students. I'm going to log in as Iron Man. So when you click on that specific student, you'll see an option over here to log in as them. When you log in, it will log you out of your administrator account, and you'll actually be viewing exactly what your student would be viewing when they log in on their page. So when a student logs in, they'll see on their front page, they'll see all of the courses that have been assigned to them. Since this is a sample account, there's a lot of courses that are here, but they will only see the ones that are assigned to them. On the right side, they will also have a dashboard, which will give them a little bit of an overview of kind of their statistics, their progress, how much time they've been spending this week, this day, last week, so they can kind of go over that data themselves as well. So this is their home tab. If they go over to their stats, it looks very similar to the stats page that Emily was showing in the teacher portal. So they will be able to see their speed, how much time they've spent practicing, and they can also look at more of the detailed reports, obviously depending on their age. And, you know, if you want it to be guided or independent with them looking through this, you could choose what you want them to focus on. But goes through a lot of those same things, specific fingers that they're strong with, their speed, their accuracy. If they go all the way down to the bottom, they can also do those playbacks that we went over in the teacher portal. It'll just show them their 10 most recent playbacks. So it's a little bit about the stats page that they can see. Badges are something that we've heard a lot of feedback about them being very engaging for students. Students want to earn these badges. They can see here the badges that they've earned already, and also the badges that they have not yet earned. And it describes what they need to do to earn these badges. So it can be a really good goal setting opportunity for students in classes as well. So we got the stats, the badges. Here is another place where, just like on the home screen, they can see their courses. If they go to courses, it will only, again, show the courses that they have been assigned. And we'll go ahead and look at Typing Jungle a little bit. All right, so when students are in Typing Jungle, you'll notice that there are different types of lessons. So one of the first things you might notice is there's check marks and there's stars on different lessons. The check marks are lessons that are completion based. The stars are lessons where students earn a score based on their accuracy and their speed. So when students are working, let's go ahead and look at an unboxing lesson. You'll see these unboxing lessons are throughout the entire course, and these are those key introductions. So for example, this unboxing course is going to introduce the F key. If you, in these boxing courses, if you type the wrong key, it's not going to let students move on. So these are those introduction lessons where it really makes sure that they're understanding those specific lessons, and then they'll move on. And you'll notice here, and I'll show you the difference between one with checks and one with stars, is that you have to get it correctly and it's just going to move right on. Whereas the stars will look at what that data can looks like when it pops up on their screen. All right, so another type of lesson that we'll look at. So these review lessons, sorry, I'll go back real quick. This is one that you'll see the stars here. So it means that they will receive a score. So if we go through this, you'll notice that they can continue going if they get it wrong. So on the last one, it would not let me move forward. But on these ones, like let's say I type an F right here, it does let me move on. It's just going to take points off of my accuracy. Now I can also go back and change it. You'll notice since I got it wrong right now, it's red. But if I go back, I change it correctly, it shows up as yellow. So if I keep going, it'll stay incorrect right here. And you'll notice on the right side right now, kind of towards the bottom, that it's showing in real time my speed, my accuracy, so students are able to follow along with that. Just keep working through this. You'll also notice at the top right, Emily was talking about some accessibility options on the teacher end. You also have some options here for students to go through. Now, if you're ever noticing that any of these options are distracting for your students, you are able as an instructor and as an admin to remove some of these options from students, depending on what you feel is beneficial for them. But when you go through this, one option is the keyboard guide. So if you do not want them to see the keyboard on the screen, they can remove that. If you have the keyboard guide on, they can choose different layouts. So maybe you just want a standard keyboard, or they want it to look a little bit differently. They can customize it here. There are also hand guides, which back to that accessibility piece, probably wouldn't apply to most students, but this option is here for those that it would benefit. Also have different options for the keyboard sound and voiceovers. So right now, as I'm typing, you haven't heard anything, but if we turn the keyboard sound on, you'll hear that. If we turn the voiceover on, you have a lot of different options for students who that might benefit being read out loud. So if they want their letters to be read out loud to them, fully guided, you can also change the volume speech. It would sound a little bit like this. And then I'll go ahead and finish this just so you can see what it looks like at the end of a score-based one with the stars, because I know the last one we looked at was completion-based. So when they finish a lesson that is score-based, it will pop up here at the end and they'll see their score. Obviously, I was talking to you all a lot. I had a lot of mistakes, so not the best score, but it does show their accuracy, how long it took them, and their speeds in words per minute. Now down here, it shows them that what their goal could be, and I can always try it again. And that would be this page right here. All right, so another type of lesson that we have are these anchoring lessons. And these are really to help eliminate students from kind of that like hunting and pecking that many students start off with when they're learning how, and adults when they're learning how to type. So for these anchoring keys, they'll have to hold down, how it says hold down the F key, and do the entire thing with holding it down. If I let go of the F key, and it won't let me continue. So it's a good way to make sure that their fingers are positioned on the home row in the correct way. All right, and one more lesson type that I'd like to show is the dynamic practice. So at the end of some of the sections, you'll notice there are dynamic practice lessons, and these lessons are really great because they're actually personalized for each individual student. So depending on their previous lessons and the data that TypingClub is gathering and noticing what keys are they really strong with, what keys do they need more practice with, these dynamic practices individualize that for each individual kid. So they're working on what they need practice on. Okay, so that is Typing Jungle. We want to look at another course. We'll go ahead. So Typing Jungle could be for all students. We also have grade specific typing courses. So if we went and we looked at a second grade typing course, some of the differences you'll notice if we look at the table of contents, and sorry, I should have done that with Typing Jungle as well. You can see exactly what students will be working through. So since this is a grade level specific course, grade level 2, you'll notice at the beginning starts off very similar to Typing Jungle. It introduces home row, top row, different keys. But then the further the course progresses, the more it gets into specific grade level content. So for example, in second grade, something that they could finish with, like if they get into social studies or grammar at the bottom, these are based on second grade standards. So this will look a lot different than what your fifth graders would see or what your first graders would see. These are based on second grade expectations. And then, so I'll just show you a quick difference between that and then like what a 10th grade would look like. If we look at the table of contents, notice it's similar. It starts off with introducing the different keys, but then as you go on, it gets into their grade level content. So if we were to go into a 10th grade practice, here's an example of what 10th graders could be working on. So big differences there. And then I know somebody asked in the chat earlier about Typing Jungle. Typing Jungle is definitely included in your licenses, and Typing Jungle is a course that we recommend for kindergarten and first grade. However, if you're using the grade level typing courses, we probably recommend Jungle Junior for kindergarten, and then there is a grade level 1 typing course. So Jungle Junior is really great for kindergartners and first graders. It's a much different interface here. You'll notice a difference right away is that the way that Typing Jungle Junior is set up is that it's in alphabetical order versus like the order of introducing different keys. So it goes in alphabetical order. All of Jungle Junior is completion based. So you won't see any of the stars here, all check marks, all completion based as they're learning the keys for the first time. And that's a little bit about Jungle Junior. So if we were to look at one of the lessons, say introducing a D.
Let's learn about the letter D. This is a big D. This is a small d.
So just kind of introduces the characters with kid-friendly videos so that they're going through those. And there's also games involved in Jungle Junior as well as Typing Jungle and the grade level courses. And then the last types of courses I wanted to show are these animated stories. Animated stories are really great for, they're just an engaging way for students to continue practicing. We do recommend them usually after students have made a lot of progress through the other courses so that they're typing the proper way within the stories. But if we were to look at one of these animated stories, it reads through the story and there's ways. Notice if I slow down the music, another fun way for when students are finishing their lessons and they're looking for other opportunities, you can assign them these animated stories as well. And then I think, Emily, was there anything else in the student portal that we should go over?
That is a great question. I think you covered it. You know, we do have a little bit of time. I'm not sure if there were specific things that people wanted to look at some more, which we can definitely do. I also was typing an answer to a question. I know you all are asking each other for advice on when you're building this into your schedule. One thing that's really nice about this is, you know, depending on the time of day where you can fit it in, this can be fully self-guided for the students. Or we do have, Daniel, if you want to, or I'll share my screen. No worries. If you want to pull up the Help Center, or I can pull up the Help Center. We do have a resources section in the Help Center that will give you an idea of, you know, depending on the course that you're working on. First of all, it'll go into a lot of detail about the objectives of the course and what's in there. There are handouts you can print for the students. Depending on the type of course, you'll see a lot of different information. So again, it can be as involved as you want it to be, or it can really be completely independent.
Would you guys mind showing, I know you said that they can model from the courses tab from the teacher account, that they would be able to do a demo or model for the students?
Yes, absolutely. So there is a way to do that. if we go back into the teacher account, we can go to courses and we can then click on a course, and then we can view lessons. This actually brings me to another feature that would be good to mention, which is if you've decided that you want to adjust the default lesson requirements for a student or a class, but you want to know what those are, if you go to this page for any of our courses, you can click the little print icon and it will generate a PDF for you that actually shows the different levels, and it'll show you the different requirements here so you can get an idea of what you're actually changing. But then if I click on a lesson here, I can then try the lesson. I don't know if it's going to let me do it while I share my screen with you here. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't want to let me. But what it would do is it would generate a lesson preview. Sometimes it can be nice to do the example student account. If someone has already created, I would imagine that there have already been example students or test students created on your district's account. You can always log in as that test student. You can manually create a new class for that student so that you can adjust all the settings. You can control the jump ahead behavior and the courses that are assigned, right? So this would be a good option as well. Is there anything else we can show you?
I think you guys can go ahead and unmute if you have a question. Otherwise, I did put the attendance and exit ticket in the chat. If you could just go ahead and fill that out before you go. Thank you both so much. Looks like our next session starts at 1:35, so you guys have a little bit of time. And we've got a hand.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a media specialist, so just trying to think about doing it with my students. You just mentioned making a new class. Is that something we'd be able to do, that I could put all the students in one class and assign, whether it's for Turkey Trot or something else, assign a course for them, and then I would be able to have them all navigate to that same class? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that would be maybe more of an admin level question for how the district would like for you to handle that. It certainly is possible to do that, but I'm not sure what the preference would be there.
We have been offering course admin to some of our media specialists and e-coaches, but we have not talked about that as an option, and I don't know how that affects.
Since we're not rostered, you know what I mean? So media
Right.
specialists don't have our own classes. So with that admin right, am I able to create a class like she was just showing, and I could put the kids in there?
But also with admin, you can already see the homerooms that that they're already in, so that would probably be preferred. I'll double check, and if you want to follow up with me in an email, S. Wilkinson, I'll put it in the chat, and I'll double check with you. But I'm fairly certain that our preferred method would be to just use the existing classes that they're already in from Power School, and you can view the data that way.
Okay. I was just thinking, if I see that some of my teachers are using it, so I'm just like, I don't want to interfere with what they're doing for their like centers or like early finish or whatever.
Yeah, and I think most people are using it kind of as an independent situation. Like, I don't think that they're really teaching, and then, but you know, you could survey your teachers certainly.
Okay.
But
great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. If you did want to bulk assign courses to certain classes, there are filters that you can use for school and grade level. And you would be able to select the check boxes for those, more actions, and then assign courses. So if that would make that part of your question easier, that is an option that's available.
Yeah, I think that's really nice, especially because I bet you all of your teachers are not using TypingClub. So you could assign something to them so that every student, when they come to media, would have something assigned, or else they're not going to see anything in TypingClub.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions?
I don't think so. Thanks so much, Emily and Daniel. We learned a
Thank
lot.
you for having us.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
one.
You too.
I'm wondering if I can share my screen with you. Oh, you're gone. Never mind.
Uh-oh, did someone just say something?